What's up, BookTube? It's Monty. It's been forever and a fucking day, but I'm here, and today we are going to go over my summer reading, which was 3 books, which, isn't the highest number that I've ever read in a month, but it's a number that I'm kind of content with. Sorry, that's gross. Um, I'm content with it. I had a great time in the wilderness. I'm happy to be out of the wilderness. Though, as I say that, um, part of the reason we haven't gotten any kind of any new content is I'm still trying to figure out the best way to film with the new camera. So, fun times there. Then, I was back in the wilderness this past weekend, and I'm going back this coming weekend. And so it's like, oh, I'm out of the wilderness. Let me decompress. Oh, I'm back in it. So, we're just living our best life. We're trying to figure things out. I'm going to go over the 3 books that I've finished reading. The one book that I'm currently reading, which is kind of the only book on my August TBR, if I'm being honest with myself. I have a whole bunch of shit checked out. I have a whole bunch of things I would like to get to, but we're just not going to talk about that. So, let's just get into the thing. So the first book I want to talk about is I Wish You All the Best by Mason Dever. I read this in between the sort of infernal devices that I had brought with me. And I have to say I was not a fan of this book. I think that if I went into this book just wanting Ben's story, that's his name, right? Yes. Or is it... No, they use they, them? I think Ben uses they, them pronouns. It's been a really long time. I'm gonna go with they do use they, them pronouns, so my bad, Ben. But, if I went into this book expecting just Ben's story, I probably would have been content with it, because I think that their story was okay. My issue was Nate. I felt that Nate was just sort of a mishmash of black people stereotypes, and I didn't really care about Nate, and I didn't care about their relationship. Like, it was cute. It was a cute relationship, and I think that, especially towards the end of the novel, there's a lot of things that are happening, and you see... Is his name even Nate? Yes. Okay. You see Nathan being there for them, but it didn't work for me. It didn't work for me, and I didn't like it. But I think that if you're a non-binary person, that this book probably meant more to you than it did for me. I don't know. My expectations were for contemporary romance, and it's more contemporary coming of age, finding yourself. I would even say it's more that than like the romantic relationship. Because again, I didn't like Nate, and I think that I see why people want the story from Nate's perspective, because I think that there is a story to be told there, and I'm happy that Mason isn't trying to write that story, but I also feel like there needed to be something here. Like, there's, oh, I'm not a black person, I can't write about that experience, and then there's what they did with Nate, and I don't appreciate what they did with him, and I don't support what they did with him, and, so I did not like this book, but I don't think it's a bad book. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's, like, inherently terrible, but it just didn't work with my own lived experiences. So we're just gonna throw that onto my bed, and we're gonna circle around to the 2 Clockwork books that I read, Prince and Princess. My major issue is actually with book 2, because this book is 500 pages, and this book chronicles a 2-week time period. And I felt that there was a lot of running in circles and a lot of, oh, we can't do this yet because the book needs to continue, that I didn't care about. I also just don't care about Tessa. I don't care about Jim, who I also thought was a cacophony mishmash of Asian stereotypes. Now, I've seen a lot of Asian readers really connect with Jim, so obviously my input there isn't as valid or as important. You should take it, less than those Asian readers, but I felt that there was just a lot of, like, stereotypes to make Jim a person. I also didn't care about the love triangle situation. I didn't think this was a polyamorous situation. I just didn't care about any of these people. I don't care about Tessa at all, point blank, period, end of story. The one character I cared about from Clockwork Angel, Jessamine, wasn't really around in this book. and when she was, it wasn't important. But again, this book was 2 weeks. 2 weeks. It was entirely too long for it to be 2 weeks, and it really felt like a filler book. That's all I have to say on this. I do think I have vlog clips of this one. I don't think I'm going to insert them into this clip because I was in the wilderness, and I don't know what those look like, but yeah, this one was not a fan of. Clockwork Princess, I was more okay with, but it was also really slow, and then a thing happened around the halfway point, and I was like, well, I guess we've been teasing that the whole series, so I guess we can do that. And then, like, 20 pages later, it was like, psych, that didn't happen, and that character isn't. And I was just like, I didn't care about this character, but the fact that you did that really bothered me. I do think that this was better just because I found all of the side love interest storylines to be far more compelling. So I think, who was it? Gideon and Sophie, and Cecily and Gabriel. I think I got those correct. But all of those plot lines I found far more compelling than any love romance that we had had before. I didn't really care about Charlotte and her husband they were pregnant and they were gonna name their baby Jocelyn, and I was just like, okay, whatever. I didn't care about any of that other stuff. I found the conclusion to be wholly underwhelming because I find that the Magister was a really boring antagonist because he literally does nothing in this book. He does a whole bunch of shit in Clockwork Angel, and then he's like literally in the last like 10 pages for like 5 seconds, and he's easily defeated. So I didn't really find that his whole thing was that intense or whatever. And the epilogue, which everyone says is the best epilogue, I should not have read, because not because I think it's bad, but I find that the epilogue of Clockwork Princess, I don't want to say spoils, but like it just ties End I Feel to Heavenly Fire, which is over here off the frame. I'm not going to move the camera because it's a hot mess, but over here. And I haven't read City of Heavenly Fire yet. I got to Fallen Angels, which is here. Got to Fallen Angels, and I just couldn't read anymore, and that was kind of where I stopped reading this summer. So I found that the epilogue for this one kind of ruined that. Overall, this is my least favorite series that I've read from Cassandra Clare, because I really do like the original trilogy. And I haven't gotten to the Dark Artifices yet, but this one I think is definitely the least, it's the lowest. Maybe because I find that people say this is the best one, and so my expectations were like elevated to a point that they might not have been otherwise, but this one just didn't do it for me, sadly. So that was what I read. That was what I read over the summer, those 3 books. That was kind of my experience. Overall, I was happy with it. Now moving on to my August TBR, which is literally a singular book. Like I said before, I have other things. I might read those things. But the only one that's hard and fast on this TBR is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. Ignore the doodles on this. There we go. Yeah, so I'm buddy reading this with Heather from Aphrodite Reads. And I'm currently on page, I want to say 60. Let's see if I can open the book. I am on page 64. So, I am not the biggest fan of this. I just don't... I think that Donna Tartt is just going to be one of those authors that I don't fuck with. And that's okay. Like, I had to put the book down a couple days ago just because some of the dialogue is just terrible. Like, it's not even good. Like, it was literally terrible. Like, I was reading it, and I was like, when you were high on cocaine, because apparently Donna Tartt was high on cocaine writing this book, you thought this was a good idea, and when you came down from your high, and you sent it off to your editor, and they read this, and they marked it up, and do whatever editors do, like, they didn't think to take this, like, it's just bad. Like, it's literally bad. It's not even that it's pretentious, it's just that it's bad. So, that's where I'm at with this currently. I'm hoping that it gets better because this book is like 500 pages. Yeah. So, this is what I'm reading in August. hopefully your August is going better than mine. Yeah, that's all I have to say. I'll check in with you guys at some point with some more content, but until then, bye.